Welcome to AI Sports Predictor. Now, listen closely, because today, I'm about to blow your expectations clean off the map. So, let's get something straight before we dive in. You might have come here expecting to nod along, clap for the Timberwolves, and walk away feeling all warm and cozy about consensus picks. But that's not how we do things here. You want reality? You want to beat the house? You step into my world where nothing is predictable, and no underdog is too small to bark. Now, sure. The experts, the analysts, the algorithms, they all have their sights set on the Timberwolves today. They've got size. They've got scorers, and they've got that edge the media drools over. But let me tell you a secret. You can stack highlights and player stats from here to heaven. But the one thing that doesn't lie. The number that stands out like a sore thumb. 16.6. The Wizards. Yeah. That's right, Washington + 16.6. Don't scoff. Don't roll your eyes. Let me explain why this isn't a fairy tale. It's a robbery. And you're about to get paid if you pay attention. You see, everyone's too busy looking at Washington's losses like they define them. But let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a fighter take hit after hit and still stay on his feet just long enough to deliver the knockout punch? That's the Wizards. Resilient, scrappy, and dangerous when ignored. Their defense? It's like that underestimated bouncer at the club who doesn't look tough until you push the wrong button. Their pace? Built for chaos, and guess what chaos does to teams like the Timberwolves? It disrupts them. Throws them off their rhythm. Minnesota's ball handling won't be as clean as the spreadsheets predict once Washington turns the game into a backyard brawl. And trust me, when the clock starts ticking, 16 points become a marathon they won't win. Think I'm done? Not even close. There's a twist here you probably didn't see coming, because I'm not just betting on the numbers, I'm betting on what the sportsbooks fear most. The Wizards' ability to keep this game uncomfortably close, hanging around like an unwanted guest at dinner. Because when underdogs linger, the favorites get nervous. And nervous favorites make mistakes. So, and today's AI pick is Wizards + 116.6. I didn't come here to hand you the obvious. I came here to give you the edge. The Timberwolves may win on the scoreboard, but not by the margin they're selling. On to Game 2.
Houston may look like a juggernaut, but let's not be fooled by surface-level dominance. The Nets at 15.5. That's not a mistake, that's an invitation to cash in on something the sportsbooks don't want you to see. Let's start by addressing that so-called dominant Houston defense. Sure, they're fourth best in defensive rating and limit three-point attempts, but the truth. They bleed when teams play them with controlled chaos. Brooklyn's offense, slow as it may be, thrives on creating uncomfortable possessions. They attempt the 8th most threes per game not because they're splashy shooters, but because they know how to stretch defenses and exploit rotations. When you give a team like the Nets space, they hang around longer than you'd expect. Then, there's Houston's Achilles heel game breakdowns. That meltdown against Memphis wasn't just about Jalen Green missing a clutch shot or Alperen Sengun being questionable. It's about a team that can't always close the door. They lead, they dominate, and then Memphis slip. This is where teams like Brooklyn swoop in, doing just enough to cover the spread, like that sneaky poker player who never shows his hand until it's too late. And sure, the Nets have injuries piling up, but you know what they also have. Defensive grit. They've held 5 straight opponents under 110 points. Their ability to force turnovers, ranked 8th in the league, is exactly what can disrupt Houston's offensive rebounding dominance. You can grab all the boards you want, but if the ball is constantly being stripped or poked away, those second chance points disappear. And let's talk numbers. 15.5 isn't a margin, it's a gift. Even with their scoring struggles, Brooklyn knows how to grind games into ugly, low-scoring affairs. When that happens, double-digit spreads don't hold up. Houston can win, but winning by 16 or more against a team that knows how to muck up the flow, that's a different ballgame. So, take the Nets at 15.5. Houston might win, but Brooklyn will be right there, covering the spread like an unwelcome shadow.
Orlando may have started the season with promise, but right now that Magic one is looking a little bent out of shape. Sure, they have a top-tier defense on paper, but that defense isn't exactly bulletproof when they're getting beat by 30 and shooting under 20% from beyond the arc. Thursday's loss to Portland wasn't just bad, it was an unraveling. And that's where the Jazz come in, quietly waiting to strike back. Now, before you scoff at a 10-36 team, consider this: Utah's been living in the basement, but they've got talent itching to make this spread more interesting. Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, and John Collins aren't exactly household names to casual bettors, but they're not scrubs either. This team's scoring ability is being underestimated, and against a Magic squad ranked 29th in offensive rating, they won't need to do much heavy lifting to stay in this game. Orlando's offensive struggles are tailor-made for a team like Utah to exploit. The Magic ranked dead last in scoring and three-point percentage, and Utah, despite their horrid record, actually hits the 16th best mark from beyond the arc. That's the crack in the armor they'll use to stay close. And don't forget the rebounding battle. Utah may have been crushed on the boards by Minnesota, but Orlando isn't exactly a glass-eating machine either. Then there's the mental factor. Orlando just got humiliated, and teams that suffer blowouts don't always bounce back right away. When frustration sets in, mistakes follow. That's where Utah's Colin Sexton thrives, disrupting shaky offenses, forcing turnovers, and turning them into fast break points. And today's AI pick is Jazz 5.5. We're not betting on them to win outright, but we're betting on Orlando to be just dysfunctional enough to let the Jazz slide through the spread. On to Game 4.
The Suns are riding some momentum, sure, but let's not ignore the facts brewing under the surface here. This isn't a layup win for Knicks. This is a classic trap game waiting to explode. And the Trailblazers 3.5. That's where the gold lies. First, Portland's defense. Don't be fooled by that 26th ranked defensive efficiency. Recent games tell a different story. They've held opponents under 9 to 7 points in 3 of their last 5 outings. Yeah, the Hornets and Magic aren't elite, but confidence is built off these games, and Portland's figuring out how to lock things down when it matters. They're winning 6 of their last 7 for a reason. Then, the Suns are coming off a back-to-back, and anyone who thinks fatigue won't be a factor is living in fantasy land. The grind of consecutive games doesn't just affect legs, it messes with rhythm, decision-making, and late-game stamina. When you're facing a Portland team that can turn up the heat late, that's dangerous. Plus, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker might drop their usual numbers, but this game isn't about individual firepower. It's about who can dig deeper when things get messy. Portland's been spreading their scoring around beautifully, with Scoot Henderson and Shedon Sharpe stepping up as needed. If Jerami Grant or Matisse Thybulle return, that's just more bodies to throw at Phoenix and disrupt their offensive flow. But even without them, Portland's bench has shown they can hold their own. The Suns' defensive enticement and efficiency won't be able to stop multiple scorers attacking from different angles. Let's also not forget that Phoenix failed to cover in their previous 2 wins over Portland. They've shown they can win, but they haven't done so convincingly. That trend doesn't magically reverse here. The Suns might get their victory, but by more than 3.5 points. Not against a surging Portland team at home. And today's AI pick is Trailblazers 3.5. Phoenix might scrape by, but Portland will make sure it's close enough to cash in. On to Game 5.
The Knicks have been lighting up the scoreboard lately, but that defensive ranking of 27th in points allowed. That's a red flag. This is exactly where the Lakers step in and cover the 9.5. Let's not act like the Knicks haven't been padding their recent wins against struggling teams like Memphis. Yes, they've been on fire offensively, but they're also giving up buckets on the other end, allowing teams to shoot 49.4% from the field and 37.8% from deep. For a team like the Lakers, who just shot over 50% and 87% from the line against Philadelphia, that's a green light to exploit this defense. LeBron James is still the king for a reason. He's fresh off a 31-point performance, shooting over 60% from the field and dishing out 9 assists. With his leadership, the Lakers know how to grind out close games, and New York's defensive gaps are tailor-made for a playmaker like him to exploit. The Knicks may outscore weaker opponents, but they'll struggle to blow out a team as disciplined as LA. Then there's the bench depth. The Knicks might be third in field goal percentage, but they're also prone to turnovers when faced with high IQ defenders like Anthony Davis. The Lakers' ability to keep this game within reach lies in forcing those mistakes and converting them into easy transition points. At 9.5, we don't need the Lakers to win, we just need them to hang around, and trust me, LeBron will make sure of that. And today's AI pick is Lakers 9.5. The Knicks can take the win, but LA will cover that spread without breaking a sweat. Here's the recap of today's AI picks. Wizards 16.6, Nets 15.5, Jazz 5.5, Trailblazers 3.5, Lakers 9.5. See you in the next video.